Hey guys, John Lex here, back with a new video. This is going to be more regarding how to buy a house, where to buy a house, when to buy a house, all that stuff. So I'm making these videos, as I've said before. I don't know what number this is going to be. It could be 3, it could be 5, could be 2, who knows. But I'm making this series of videos because there's so much bad information out there. And as someone that has recently purchased a house for myself, even though I'm still in my current apartment, I'm gonna try and put as much information out there as I can. Now, bear in mind, even though I'm gonna try and be as truthful as possible, don't take it at face value. Do your research. Don't take what I'm saying as truth. Read everything you're gonna sign, read it fully. It's key. It's super important. Also, bear in mind, house purchases, real estate, all that stuff, it is super local. It depends on not just literally your area and your town and the neighborhood itself, but also the state. Whether it's north, south, east, New England is different than, California, which is different than Texas, which is different from Tennessee. And I'm saying this as someone that has limited knowledge of all of these different areas. So, I was in the military. I've traveled a bit, although to be fair, most of the time I've rented. But yeah, so this video is going to cover the steps of the process, at least as far as I can tell. It's going to be a long one probably, so just buckle down. If you want to watch the whole thing in one go, feel free. I'm putting these on YouTube because feel free to watch them multiple times. Feel free to pause them, rewind them, come back, all that stuff. So first off, I never wanted a house. I know that sounds stupid. I mentioned in one of the previous, either the last video or this is only the second video I've recorded, but I would expect that there's, others before this. Ooh, that's fizzy. I never really wanted a house. There's a big decision with renting or buying, and it's not actually the money that should determine that. It should be your needs and your priorities and where you are in life. So I never wanted one. I'm lazy. Ooh, excuse me. I've been drinking. I stepped off the wagon. I don't like yard work. I don't like chores. Apartment life is fine. If I could put a work order in and someone else can fix my shit, that's cool, But ultimately I decided to move to an apartment or move to a house or purchase a house, whatever, because I got tired of neighbors. I got tired of people. At least for me, I've been in this one long enough that they're not really raising the rent because it's unofficial, but I'm basically a long-term renter. And so they're like, this dude's guaranteed he's going to stay here, right? Other people come and go. I've seen people jump around. I've seen people find apartments just so they can get that 1 free month of rent. Like, I'm not even joking. I wish I was. I really wish I was, but apartments offer the 1 free month. The first month is free, and you got to pay for the first month and the last month. And there's usually some sort of deal, but they'll do that and then they'll move just so they can get another free month somewhere else. That's not me. I like routine. I like to stay in one place. I don't want to mow a yard. I don't want to freaking rake. But I'm tired of other people. I'm tired of, the neighbors upstairs like banging around at all times of the day. I'm tired of the neighborhood starting to deteriorate, which still could do in a house, by the way. Just bear that in mind. But yeah, I never wanted one. But like I said, it's not about finances, it's about priorities and needs, and my priorities and needs have shifted. So there you go. Uh, Additionally, this hasn't been a quick decision for me. It's been a year or two in the making. You know, for me at least, I first I kind of looked at like the whole barn dominium thing. That was attractive to me. I was like, well, I'll, and the whole buy versus rent thing. I still recommend this. You can definitely utilize the renting thing. Oh, Jesus Christ, excuse me. You can definitely utilize that to save a lot of money and invest heavily and grow your liquid cash and plan for retirement. For me, that's the biggest thing. For me, the biggest thing is earlier. Well, it's not anymore. Regular retirement, retirement if possible. Early retirement if possible as well. And I was like, if I could get enough money, maybe buy something cheap out in the middle of nowhere, or at least in a small town or something cheap. Put a barn dominium on it, just like a big metal shack. I get it. There's barn dominiums. The actual definition of a barn dominium is something that's like 40 or 60% workshop space. It's not what we consider barn dominiums are basically just steel frame construction. It's a metal walls maybe, and then a roof or whatever. It's not a true barn dominium. I get that. Anyway, wow, look at that kitty hair. The kitty hair, it's everywhere. So I looked at that and then I was like, wow, that's actually a real pain in the ass to do. Out in the middle of nowhere. I actually started looking. Every once in a while you get those flyers in the mail that's like land liquidation, blah blah blah. And if you actually research where they come from, they're out in the middle of freaking nowhere. They're like 3 hours away from the nearest town. They're terrible. And if you actually research the law, you can't even really do what you want to do on them. They're super restrictive. It's some legal bull. It's a scam, basically. It's a scam. Maybe you could finesse your way through if you're appropriately legally versed, but it would be difficult. So just bear that in mind. Also, there's no guarantee they're not going to have an HOA. There's just so much. There's just so much. But so I looked at that. I looked at the barn dominium thing, and then I was like, well, maybe I want a new build. Maybe I want a new house. Maybe I'll just get a house on the outskirts of the town because I want this to be my forever home. So you're talking like 30 years. I'll just get a new house, a new build, and then I'll be fine. And a lot of new builds are crap. They're based on demand ultimately. So a bunch of houses will go up and they'll go up fast because there's like a housing boom and they want to cash in, and then it cools off and they still have a bunch of houses that haven't sold. So they're like, well, we're not going to build anymore until we sell these. And then those sell and they're like, oh God, there's demand. Oh, we got to build a bunch more. And they build a bunch more and they build them cheap. And that's the problem. It's none of the houses that are being built well. Even the new ones, even though they're built with new techniques, they're just not being built well. They're all built shitty and cheap. So unless you're going to build like a custom home, and even then, new builds, you still have to worry about it. You still have to get them inspected. You still have to worry about the foundations. You still have to worry about everything. You have to worry about everything. You have to worry about the foundation shifting. You got to worry about all that crap. So I was kind of at the point where I'm like, what what actually do I want to do? And so I started looking at houses because I'm like, well, let me do some research. Because generally, how it works for me, I'm an outlier by far. Excuse me. I do pre-research for stuff. I kind of look out there in the ether and I collect as much information as I can, and then eventually I'll make a decision. And it's not a brag. People will be like, "Oh, you just made that decision super fast," and I'm like, "No, I've been thinking about it for the past 10 years." Right? So I started doing that stuff with the house. And like I said, I went through the barn dominium, I went through the new build, I went through some of these old houses, I went through whatever. I started looking through all the different listings. I started looking at the market conditions. I started looking at what, interest rates are probably going to do. I started looking at, different economic factors that will affect future, interest rates and home pricing and all that stuff. And I just started looking at all this information and I'm like, holy crap. At first I was like, I'm going to buy right before retirement. And I'll just cash out some of my, assuming I'm able to retire early or retire at all, I'll cash out my investments, assuming they did well, pay for the house that way. Then I was like, may as well pay for it while I'm working, just in case things get worse. And I'm looking at the economic stuff and it's like, yeah, it's probably going to get worse. And then I'm looking at it and I'm like, I see that winter is the time to buy, and it's winter, at least as of when I started doing my research and stuff. And I'm like, interest rates are probably going to go up because we're getting all this money. We're not reducing we being the US. We're not reducing spending. Spending's going to go up. Interest rates are probably going to go up. Everyone's like, oh, the interest rates are going to go down. Maybe. But even if they do, that means house prices are going to go up to compensate, because competition is going to be a little bit fiercer. House prices are going to jump. I may as well, if you're in the position I'm in, you may as well purchase a house while interest rates are high and then pay it off early, because the high rates are going to keep the prices low, but the prices are going to keep going up because inflation is going to keep going up. The economy is going to continue taking a shit. It's just, I'm like, now is the time to buy. I sort of did all this research and I'm like, holy shit, the planets are aligning. Now is the time. And I went and I bought a house. And it took me like a week. Like, I'm not even, I'm not bragging about that. I'm sort of a week and a half. Shocked and amazed, honestly, from the time I decided, like, now is the time to buy, to when I actually put in the first offer and got it accepted, was about a week and a half. Which is unreal. It is unreal in a market where the average time seems to be 6 months. 6 to 9 months. It's unreal. Maybe in my area it's a little bit different. Like I said, all states are different, all localities are different, but maybe that's, okay, so in my area, the average time to sell if a seller places a house on the market, it usually stays on the market about 30 days, 30 to 40 days. You can find plenty of houses, though, that are 60 plus days, 100 plus days. I've seen some that are 200 plus. Okay, it happens. I'm not saying I'm an expert. Assume everything I'm saying in this video is a lie. Okay, do your own research. But for me, it was super fast. 30-day close, week and a half to, getting an offer accepted. Super fast. I don't sleep well anyway. I have slept even worse. Like, I have, panic, or I did. I was having, panic episodes and stuff because I'm like, am I doing this too fast? Is this the right decision? You never know, by the way. You're never going to know. All you have to do is just keep going forward, push through as best you can. That's all you can do. Hmm. Hmm. That was the last of my scotch. Pretty happy about that. I don't. You coming up here, Jack? For me, alcohol is a love-hate relationship. I love being intoxicated, but it makes me sleep like crap and other stuff. Come on, Jack. Come on. Anyway, my main recommendation, sleep on any tough decisions and especially on negative emotions. If you're panicked about your house, about your future, about whatever. See, I knew you were coming up here. If you have any sort of panic, any sort of negative emotions, this is Jack. He's my baby. Any sort of negative emotions, sleep on it. He is very hairy, though. So there were several times where I'm like, I'm gonna walk away. We're gonna cancel the deal. Blah, blah, blah. Tell him to fuck off. Whatever, I'm walking. I'm walking here. I'm walking, right? And my realtor was like, you really want to do this? Over like $1,500? And I was like, I don't know. Let me sleep on it. I'll get back to you. And then I slept down. I was like, let's go forward. Let's keep moving. Right? There's a lot of emotion during the whole house buying process. Yeah, we're already at like 18 minutes. Like I said, this is going to be a long video. Sleep on it. If unless you need to do stuff like now, like 30, I thought a 30-day close was fast, but you could probably do it in 21 days, right? 3 weeks, you could probably do it. It's fast, but you could probably do it. They're gonna hate you. When I say they, I mean your mortgage people. The mortgage people, the closing people, they're all gonna hate you. Because you get bumped to the top of the list if you do that, and you better have your shit lined up. You better not have any problems. You want to go fast, you can, but there's nothing wrong with going a little slow. 60 days, 60-day close seems to be the usual thing, and that's probably fine. It's probably fine. So, steps of the process. Rent versus buy. If you've already made the decision to buy, cool. You don't have to. Like I've mentioned in the previous video or one of the previous videos, people will be like, oh, if you're renting, you're throwing your money away. That's not true. That's not true. Especially if you're doing it with a purpose. You're like zoned in. For me personally, I got the smallest apartment I could find that met my needs, because I'm fiscally conservative, right? My priority is retirement. Early retirement if possible. It depends on the investments and how they do. But I'm going to get the smallest apartment I can that meets my needs. I'm going to live like a poor person. I'm going to take all that extra cash that I don't spend and shove it into an investment account. And hopefully it does well. And hopefully be able to, early retire was the original goal. But now it's maybe just retire at all due to how the economy's going, okay? But once you've made the decision to buy, and the reason I keep harping on the rent versus buy stuff is because there's so many. I look at the Reddit first time home buyer forum, which by the way you should check out if you haven't seen. It is full of assholes, and I'm sorry if you're one of those assholes. It's full of assholes. You know, I saw something about people complaining about crane flies, how they open their door and every time at least several, 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 crane flies fly into their apartment or house, whatever. And they're like, how can I get rid of them? Do I use poisons? Do I find like eggs from a predator and put them out there and let them hatch and eat the crane flies? And people are like, you're destroying the environment. Oh, environment. It's like, dude, it's nature. If he's talking about dumping toxic waste, that's one thing. But if he's talking about, you know, making a frog pond, that's something entirely different, okay? You know, wring out your panties, okay? But I say this because so many people are like, you know, oh, should I rent? Should I buy? You know, buy, and they talk about buying as an investment. Don't look at that at all, especially given how the economy is going to turn to shit. It's already shit, but it's going to get even shittier, right? Don't look at it as an investment. Look at it as if this is the last house you're ever going to be able to purchase, because the economy could go to shit. You could be stuck in it. If that's the case, it's a terrible investment. You know, if you're planning to be able to sell it here in a few years or maybe even refinance and you can't, that's a terrible investment. If you're planning on things getting better and they don't, that's a bad investment. Plan on it to be a forever home. Plan to never sell. Plan to never sell this MFR. That is, seriously, that's my financial advice, okay? All right, let's move on. Hopefully, you've made the decision to be financially ready. You know, at this point, it's all about timing. Are you financially ready? Are you emotionally ready? You know, what is the timing? Emotionally ready is key as well. Don't neglect that. You know, are you mentally stable enough to handle buying a house? Is a lot of stress. Okay, it is a ton of stress. It's a ton of upfront costs. It's even going to be, you know, your costs are going to be even higher, right? Expect, generally speaking, to spend about 1% of the purchase price of the home per month. You know, that's about average. You're like, wait, but my home is, you know, $250,000. It tells me I could, my mortgage is only going to be $1,100 a month. It's like, yeah, you're not accounting for homeowners insurance, property taxes, all the miscellaneous repairs, everything else. There's all these other hidden bullshit costs that nobody talks about. Expect to pay 1% of the cost of the home per month. If you could do that, you're probably okay. Going into it, expect to pay 2% of the cost of the home up front on inspections, appraisals, earnest money, your contingency fee, all the bullshit stuff. You know, if you might need multiple inspections, right? And that doesn't include your down payment. That's independent of the down payment. It's a lot of upfront cash. Where are you going, Jack baby? You're my baby. You cannot escape because you are loved. Okay. He's tired of being pet. He'll be back in 20 minutes. We'll still be going by then, by the way. Oh, you fear not. All right, so are you financially ready? Are you emotionally ready? Are you able to handle all the bullshit? There is a ton of stress. Like I said, I'm pretty even keel, but I'm like, fuck this house. We're gonna walk away. Tell him to fuck himself, right? No shit. okay, timing, are there kids, you have kids in school? If that's the case, you're probably going to wait until summer when everyone else buys their house. But if you're single, like I was, winter is the best time. Start looking in frickin' January. It really depends on how fast you want to purchase the home. For me, and we'll get there. I'll tell you. I'll go into the week and a half. But realtor was like, I spoke to the realtor. Then she sent me some homes. I looked at them, and then I'm like, all right, let's set up the house visits or whatever. And then we visited the houses, and I was like, let's put an offer in. It happened that fast. And if you're ready for that, cool. If you're not ready, give it some time. There's nothing wrong with taking extra time, okay? The house, there will be other houses. Okay. First thing you probably want to do is your pre-research, at least for me, okay? You want to look at your budget. You want to look at your wants and needs. Wants and needs are key. Needs, because your realtor is probably going to ask, and yes, you should have a realtor, especially if you're a first-time home buyer. Realtor is going to ask you, what are your needs? What are your wants? For me, I chose 3 things. I didn't really know what I wanted. Whoa, excuse me. But this is the point where you should be thinking about your home, and then anything that bugs you, you're like, I wish my home had this, right? So for me, I have a shitty little kitchen. Realistically, it's a fine kitchen, but it's designed. I have a 600 square foot apartment at the moment. That's what I'm recording this in right now. Even though I've purchased the house, can't move to the house yet. I still need to do work on it. There's other factors, but regardless, basically this shitty little apartment. Let me rephrase that. The apartment itself is fine. It's actually kind of nice. The kitchen sucks. The kitchen sucks. Okay, there are effectively 4 usable cabinets. All the rest are these little tiny ones. They're I don't know, 6 inches maybe. 4 inches. They're tiny. You can't put anything in them. You can maybe put a single cup. You can't put 2 cups side by side. That's too much. You could maybe put cutting boards. I don't know. I basically have 4 usable cabinets. So I'm like, I cook every meal. Not the ones I bring to work. I don't bring any food to work. So I cook breakfast and dinner and second breakfast if I'm here on weekends. Whatever. I cook all the meals. I want an actual kitchen. I want something good, not 4 cabinets. When I moved into this apartment, I had to throw away like 60% of my plates, 60% of my kitchenware. I had to throw away most of my pots, kitchen, plates, cups, bowls, all that stuff. I had a lot of cookware. It all went to Goodwill. So I wanted a kitchen, right? Needs kitchen, right? You guys have to think about what you need. Do you need multiple rooms, multiple bedrooms? Do you need multiple bathrooms? Do you like to have guests over? Do you want a freaking deck? Do you like to host parties? Your needs that your realtor will ask you is, what are your deal breakers? What are your points where if the house that you look at does not have it, you're not going to buy it. You're going to walk away. Doesn't matter how nice it is. Doesn't matter how much of a value it is. And by which I mean how nice it is versus the price, right? You will not buy it because it does not meet your absolute needs, right? If they offered you a 2,000 square foot house for $1 that you happen to find on like an estate sale, you wouldn't take it because it's too small and you need a deck or something like that. That's what I'm talking about as far as needs, right? Oh, there's no kitchen. It's 2,000 square foot house built 100 years ago. No kitchen. It's $1 though. And you're like, well, We could build a kitchen. We could build an addition to the house with a kitchen for 50, 60 grand. Okay. Things to consider, right? It's not bad. Not bad. It is a kombucha that is rosemary, mint, and sage. It's not terrible. It's not terrible. I really expect it to be terrible, but it's not terrible. All right. So at this point, you're basically at the beginning. You're doing your pre-research. I would recommend looking at listings, seeing what's in your area. This is where don't focus so much on the pictures. Don't focus so much on, we need to find the house. You may luck out. You may find the ideal house. You may be able to go for it. Don't plan on that. Excuse me. Look at neighborhoods. Look at the listing itself, the wording of the listing. You're going to want to look at what houses sell for. The wording of the listing, you look at the writing. You can kind of tell, what are they focusing on? What are they not focusing on? What are they trying to steer you away from looking at, right? What are the similarities in these houses? As far as neighborhoods go, are they good neighborhoods? Are they bad neighborhoods? How long have they been there? Something my realtor mentioned, right, is in unfinished neighborhoods. What they could do is they could start building a bunch of houses. And then if those houses don't sell, the next houses they build are at a lower tier. And so your neighborhood is not homogenous as far as quality. And by quality, I mean the riffraff, right? Let's just be fair. Poor people don't always tend to be criminals, but there is crime. Sorry. People that have never been in a house before, it's not even crime, right? It's they haven't been in a house before. They don't know how to take care of the shit that they have, and they let it deteriorate, and they let it fall. It's called blighting, where I didn't know this until I started doing the research, right? It's the opposite of gentrification. It's where a neighborhood is actively deteriorating in value because the people that are there aren't taking care of their shit. And so that causes extra crime to come in. It causes like gangs and other stuff to come in. It's super important that you're aware of these factors and you look at these factors and consider them. Look at neighborhoods. Look at all these things. Okay, one of my buddies, he was in a neighborhood, or he bought in or first he rented. Okay, and the neighborhood he rented in seemed fine, and it was fine at the time. 10 years later, it deteriorated, and one of the big early signs was when they visited, there were no kids playing. Okay, kids weren't outside playing. And then they looked closer, and everyone that walked around, because they actually did the research and they visited multiple times, and they looked at these neighborhoods, and the one they had eventually settled in, people that were outside were always carrying sticks. And they're like, why are people carrying sticks? And it's because of all the wild dogs. People didn't maintain their properties. They didn't maintain their fences. People's dogs were uncontrolled and just would go out and attack people. They didn't let their kids out to play because they didn't want them getting attacked by dogs, by neighbors' dogs. Okay? So whenever they walked, they carried fucking sticks to beat the shit out of the dogs if they were about to get attacked. No shit. Okay? They didn't know this at first. It took about 10 years for the neighborhood to deteriorate to the point where they started having freaking drive-bys in their neighborhood. So I would say, look at this stuff. Additionally, this is something I noticed. He didn't point out specifically. There were no trees in the neighborhood. Okay. I just realized this now because trees are a sign of people taking care of their property. If they're not going to maintain their fences, they're damn sure not going to maintain the trees in their neighborhood. They're not going to make sure their trees are watered. One of my current coworkers, I was like, hey man, because he bought in a new neighborhood, and he was busting my balls for buying a 20-something-year-old home, and he's like, you have an old home, whatever. And I'm like, I didn't realize at the time, but thinking back now, one of the reasons I like the old neighborhoods is because it had a lot of trees. It had greenery, and I miss the greenery. Here it's mostly city. There's no greenery, and it's nice seeing that. That could be another one of your needs, right? I want to be in a place that's green. So I asked him, you have trees, right? Are they growing? How are they doing? And he's like, oh, I let them die. I like this guy, but he's also he's terrible with money. Terrible with money. I'm not going to tell you how terrible, but he has a sizable debt. So much debt, I couldn't believe when I had to ask him. I was like, is this true? And he's like, yeah. And he's busting my balls. But he's the one that let his, it's a sign and a symptom, right? You look at the trees. If the neighborhood has trees, it's probably okay. Even if there's shitheads in it. Even if there's people that let their yards overgrow and don't take care of their property. There's going to be those people everywhere. But if they let their trees die, maybe there's even worse, right? So, okay, wants, needs, pre-research. Make sure your budget's good. I'm just following my notes. All right, I have all these notes. Even though I do this like in a rambling style, I actually like to plan ahead of time. Anyway, so realtor, this is where you start getting into, you've done the pre-research, you've looked at listings, you've decided you're ready to buy. And by the way, I wouldn't recommend starting to look at listings until about a month ahead of time. Excuse me. Because it's going to make you want to buy. That's what I did. And I was like, I need to buy. So, give it a month. Okay. But I would recommend a realtor. Hell, I'd recommend my realtor, but I don't want you guys knowing where I live. So that's not going to happen. As far as a realtor, yes, you should have one. Several reasons. One, they're generally speaking knowledgeable. Two, they can handle stuff for you so that you don't have to take time off of work, right? Inspections, whatever. Number three, they're impartial. They're able to negotiate on your behalf without being emotionally involved. And let me tell you, if I didn't have my realtor, the seller's agent, seller's realtor, whatever you want to call him, he and I are both a bit aggressive personalities, and like maybe that doesn't come across, but yeah, I have anger issues, I guess, right? So he and I probably would have broken the deal because we have unfortunately similar personalities, and they don't mix. And my realtor being super fantastic and impartial, she was able to be like, what do you want about this? What do you want about that? And then she's like, you're rude. She actually had to write an email to him at one point being like, you're rude. I would have just straight up called him a piece of shit. Anyway, I'm getting heated right now just thinking about it. But it's important to have, especially when they're playing hardball or games like that dude was with me. It's important to have somebody. Also, it's kind of cool. She lives in the area that I bought, and so she knew all of the neighborhoods. She was able to really, really pick. Like, seriously. But if you're going to get a realtor, so several things I would recommend. First, get a referral from the person that you trust the most. I realize that sounds stupid. So many of my friends and coworkers, fucking dumbasses. I mean, I love them. But, especially when before I knew about a topic, I would ask them and I'd be like, oh, okay, that's cool, right? They're super knowledgeable. But then I would do my own research and I'd be like, they don't know what they're talking about, right? I have basically one friend that actually has done the research and actually does know what he's talking about. And he recommended her, and I trust him almost completely, right? He recommended her. He's done the research. He knew her for like 10 years. He's bought multiple, I think he rented first and then he bought through her. And I was like, okay, he tells me about his mistakes. He's like, I did this and this and that. Don't do that. This is what you need to watch out for. And I was like, cool, right? So I'm sort of following in his footsteps. But he recommended her, and she became my realtor. And yeah, it was fantastic. By the way, you should definitely, when you talk to them the first time, it's almost like an interview. And she straight up, she was more tactful than I'm gonna say, but she was basically like, she sort of laid out the ground rules, right? She was like, I don't waive inspections. That's not something I do. She was like, I don't negotiate on cosmetic stuff, like the color of the walls, the carpet. She's like, if you don't like the flooring, you can change that out yourself. She was basically like, I focus on the expensive items, the big ticket items, the fundamentals of the house. So like the foundation, the roof, the AC, that's what I focus on. And I was like, that's what I want. You're cool, because in all of my research, and like I said, I was thinking about this for months ahead of time. And I was like, yeah, these seem to be the fundamental issues. I can repaint the walls. I could redo the carpet. I could do whatever. But yeah, a foundation, that's something you walk away from. If there's electrical issues where the house could possibly burst into flames and burn down at any moment, that's where you walk away. So if she's focused on that, cool, right? So yes, get a realtor, make sure they're good. Additional questions you can ask, like how busy are they? Communication's key. You want to tell them, if you're super nervous, if you're prone to anxiety, be like, hey, I need a little bit of hand holding, and don't, along with sleeping on your negative emotions to let them kind of, ease out. Communication's key. Just you try and understand, especially if they're a referral. Generally speaking, they're not trying to screw you. A realtor worth their salt, okay, knows that referrals are the lifeblood of their business. If they fuck you over, you are not going to refer any more clientele to them. And negative word of mouth, this is like a sales thing. Negative word of mouth is like, I don't remember exactly how bad it is, but it's something like you will tell 30 people to every one person that you'll tell for a good experience. Okay, most realtors are shit. I'm just gonna put that out there. Most of them are shit because they don't know. It's a sales job, but they don't know how to be good at sales. I'm sorry, they don't. Okay, but the good ones will actually take care of you, and that's why communication is super key. And you can kind of tell them and correct their behavior. I don't mean be an asshole about it, but be like, hey, look, I need a little bit more hand holding. Can you do that? And try not to be emotional about it, because they don't understand. They can't read your mind and you can't read theirs. And so it's good to just be like, hang on, what are you thinking about this? What was your thought process going into this? And then be like, and they explain it, and you're like, okay, and breathe. Remember to breathe, right? And be like, okay, see what you're going for. I would prefer not to do it that way in the future. I'd prefer to do it this way. I'd prefer to focus on these areas. If communication's good, it's fine. Okay. And by the way, the realtor and some of these other steps, they're going to blend together. It's not a set delineation of steps. It's just something to be aware of. So you get a realtor, and at this point, let's go through what I did, right? So I had done all these pre-research stuff. I'd done all the pre-research, talked to my buddy. He was like, whenever you're ready to do it, let me know. I'll refer you to my friend. She's a realtor. I don't know if he said it that way, but it was like, hey, I'm ready. Give me your number. And it wasn't even that way. It was like, check. I didn't want to just cold call her. I didn't want to call her out of the blue. I wanted to be like, can you make an introduction? Is she available? Is she super busy with other clients? That's you kind of, when you're evaluating them, when you're dealing with them, communication, is it a thing? Are they responsive to you? Are you responsive to them? Because it's not just, don't be a dick. It's not about just you. You have to manage the situation, right? You have to also be responsible if they're responsible. You have to take care of that. It's a two-way street. It's not a one-way street, right? If they're responsive to you, you also have to be responsive to them. If they're like, hey, did you get a chance to do whatever? You got to be like, fuck, that was my bad. Sorry, that was my bad. Let me get that to you right now. Right? I do that a couple times. So, you're driving the train, right? So, talk to my buddy. He was like, yep. I talked to her. It was basically Thursday, Friday, something like that. And then she sort of laid out the ground rules, and she was like, do you want to proceed? And I was like, yeah, yep, I'm cool with those ground rules. And it was like, all right, well, let's do a second talk to answer whatever questions you have, right? Explain more of the process. Because I think she only had like 10 minutes. It was just a touch base. It was actually kind of cool because we sort of laid out the ground rules, and then it gave me a day or two to think about it, and then we moved on to the actual, like, bigger, more questions and stuff. So then it was, Thursday, Friday for that. Saturday, Sunday, it was one of the weekend days. Talked to her a bit more about like the whole process and what happens. And I was like, yeah, cool. Yeah, let's do this. And so she sent me the realtor agreement, which in my state is something that is required. There's a real estate commission for the state. Not all states require it, but I actually appreciate it a lot because it is straight up. It's like contracts and paperwork I do appreciate, even though it's a little bit, nerve-wracking, because it's like, here's what's expected. It's straight up said, these are the realtor's obligations to you. These are your obligations to the realtor. And I was like, cool. It's very clear. It's clear communication, which is the key to everything. Okay, so she sent me that. That was like Sunday, Monday, something like that. And then she's like, hey, have you gotten a pre-approval? Have you gotten a quote? Have you done any of that, the finance related stuff? Have you looked at mortgages? And I was basically like, no. So she gave me a referral to, they say never use your realtor's people. It's a chain of trust. Okay. If you trust them, you should trust the people they refer to you. Okay. You know, I trust my buddy, he trusts her, they're friends. Uh, so he refers her, she refers this other person, and it's like, and straight up, I don't give a fuck about kickbacks. Okay, I know a lot of people are like, oh, corruption, kickbacks, whatever. It's like, I don't give a shit. You take care of me, you've earned your salary. Okay, that's straight up. I told the inspector that, by the way, straight to his face. um I don't care. I was like, you better, you know, I mean, I didn't come off as you better take care of me, but this is the implication. I don't think he was getting a kickback. He was a good dude. Like, seriously, he was a good dude. He's like innocent. Um, but yeah, I don't give a fuck. You can have your kickback. You better take care of me. That's what I care about. And all you guys watching this video, that's what you should care about as well. You get taken care of. Fuck everyone else. I'm sorry, that's terrible to say, but corruption and all that shit, yes, it's bad, but whatever. You make those people work for you, okay? Communication, about there's the cat right below me. Communication is the key. You know, you talk to your inspector ahead of time. We're gonna get there, but you be like, hey, I have concerns about this house. Tear it apart. I need to know what they're hiding, okay? And they're like, okay. Make them, you know what I mean? Make them dig. If you don't trust, like these people, okay, your realtor and all these, your realtor especially, if you don't trust them, if you don't trust them to guide you through a process that will put you hundreds of thousands of dollars worth in debt, don't use them. Straight up, do not use them, okay? That's why I say referral from someone you trust, from someone that has done the research, you know, from someone that's in a good position. You know? Where did my kitty go? Oh, there he is. I see him. Oh, there he is. He's right there. He's right there. Anyway, so, yeah. Mortgage brokers, get all the quotes. Get all the quotes. I don't know the actual number. It's something like 14 days where you could talk to all the different lenders and they run the hard credit pulls and they give you the quotes. There he is, right there. Come over here, Jack. Anyway, you have like 14 days to do all the different credit pulls and it only counts as one pull. So if you have a touchy credit score, do that. Okay. For me personally, I just went with the dude. You know what I mean? I didn't even really do very much research. No offense. Not really offense, but whatever. Most of these big banks and stuff like that, they don't give a shit. You can walk. They're like, we lose your business. They don't care. These little guys, they're hungry. They actually make a direct commission. So they'll want to sell you. You got to watch out because, like I said, they make their direct commission. But, you know, if they're good, if you trust your realtor, if your realtor trusts them, they'll work for you. They will try to find the best thing. And you could tell, right? If they communicate effectively, if they're like, I did this and this and that, you're like, cool. You know, my mortgage broker, for example, he went ahead, he locked me into a rate. You know, we were talking about a rate. He's like, you're pre-approved for this. And then the rates went up. And he was like, I locked you in based on this and this and that. He sent me like a freaking, he loves sending videos, which is weird, but whatever. He sends like a video recording of like the, you know, the stock market doing this. And he's like, based on this, I did this and this and that. And I'm like, I just sent him a text back. I was like, hey, thanks for looking out. Thanks for being on top of it. Right? Because he's like, the bond market's doing this and the whatever market's doing this and that and blah, blah, blah. So I locked you in. I was like, cool. I expect the rates to go up. You know, don't know when you guys are going to watch this. expect the rates to go up. If you're cool with financials, you're going to pay it off early anyway if you're smart. I someone that I thought knew what they were talking about told me that they expect rates to go back down to 3%. I don't expect that to ever happen again. You know, it's 2024, maybe in 2050. I know that sounds weird, right? I don't expect them to ever get to 3%. 12%, 16%, that's the average for home loans. That's the historical average. I think that 3%, that 2%, 1%, that was an anomaly. That was why the boomers all bought. Okay. I would expect that to never happen again. Not with the spending, not with the inflation, not with the hyperinflation. You know, not with all that stuff. Okay. So, mortgages. Find one, get all the lenders, get all the quotes you can. On the first time home buyer stuff, I saw people being like, oh, should I go with this person? How do I know what my rate's going to be based on the quote? It's like, you just pick the best one. Pick the best one and pick the one that seems to be the most honest and the most responsive. You can talk to these people, by the way, just like with your realtor. How busy are you? Do you have a lot of other clients? How responsive are they? Dude, my guy responds to me 10 minutes, 30 minutes for texts, even on weekends, nights, whatever. You know, we're done, but I could still text him. I'm like, yo, dude, what's up? Tell me about this. You know, my realtor too. She's cool as fuck. They're both cool as fuck, right? Are they responsive? For me, that's the big thing. The chances are the responsive people are also going to be the ones that you could trust the most. At least that's what I expect. Okay, I know this sounds weird, but the ones that are, you know, that are trying the hardest, especially if they have the experience, they're going to get you the best deals. Right? They want you to have the best things. Okay, so you found a realtor, found the mortgage broker. Sorry, I got kind of off track, right? Because I was going through my process, right? So talked to her Thursday, Friday, originally, my realtor. Talked to her again over the weekend, signed the realtor agreement like Monday, Tuesday. Did the quote / pre-approval stuff with the mortgage broker. And by the way, he was a little bit pushy, but I'm cool with that. Because I got the quote from him originally. He's like, hey, do you want to go ahead with the pre-approval? I was like, yeah, sure, let's do it, right? That's not, I guess you could say it's not pushy. Him asking, hey, do you want to do this? That's not pushy. Fair. But, yeah, whatever, it's fine. So we proceeded, you know, like Tuesday. My realtor had sent me houses because there was like all the listings, and she has her own listings. The realtor gives you access to the MLS. I don't know what that stands for, but it's basically their listing system, right? Multiple listing system, something like that. It's like Zillow, but the realtor's version. So it's the good one. Zillow is fine, but it's inaccurate. Just be aware. All these listing sites, the civilian ones, are inaccurate. Okay, just be aware. So she was like, hey, did you get a chance to look at those houses? And I was like kind of slacking a little bit at that point. And I was like, oh, okay, let me look at them, right? So she sent me 7 houses. And apparently, because I talked to her about my needs, which were, by the way, if I don't think I'd mentioned this totally before, but I wanted a big kitchen, okay? I wanted a single story home because I don't want to fall down the stairs, either due to old age or kitties that like to hang out on the steps and attack your feet as you go by, or just being drunk, right? Don't want to fall down the stairs. That's a big thing. Also, fucking fantastic finding this out. I have a potential hereditary issue, which, maybe is going to put me in a wheelchair one day. So that's awesome. Don't know much about it, but that's cool. Don't care. I'm going to die anyway. So, right. Single story home, right? So big kitchen, single story, and good neighborhood. Those are my three needs. Those are my three walk away froms, the deal breakers, right? So she put those at, I got the forehead vein bulging or something. She put those into her system, looked through herself, found me 7 houses that she thought I would like. And apparently the average realtor will just like do a search, spit out whatever, and then be like, here, look at these 100 homes. Okay. She was like, here's 7 hand-picked ones that I've already looked at that I think you will like, that are good. Okay. So I looked at them. One got taken off the market before I even looked at it. Like, that's how fast the market moves sometimes, okay? And we're not even in a fast market, at least where I am. So I was down to 6. Of those, 2 I thought I marked, there's like favorite, maybe, and not interested. So I marked 2 of each, okay? And then that's when I had my first panic attack, because I was like, oh God, I'm going to pick one of these houses. What happens? Blah, blah, have I looked at all the houses? And then I kind of looked at the neighborhood I was looking at. And, when you actually put in all the stuff, it really reduces the homes, right? It went from basically 100 to 12 just based off my specifications, off my needs. And most of those 12s were like the pre-built ones, which I didn't really want. And also, that's something else to consider. You look at some of these pre-built ones and you're like, wow, that's a great deal. You want to research the builders, because some of them freaking suck. Okay, the high volume ones, Lennar, Dr. Horton, whatever, they have a ton of negative reviews, but that's because they're the biggest builders. Okay. And if you look at them, they basically have even ratings just down the line, like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and they're all about the same. It's because they do way more business than anybody else. But there's some that are terrible, that have, you look and it's like 1 5-star review, 1 4, 1 3, 1, like 15 2, and then 51-star reviews, and you're like, maybe I'll avoid that one. I mean, unless you're really good with the paperwork, you can get them to cut a good deal and get a really good home warranty and expect to sue or something, right? You know what I mean? Like, expect that they're just gonna screw you over and go in and be like, yeah, they're probably gonna do this. They're probably gonna cost me 50 to 100 grand in repairs. Going into that, maybe they can do this for me, right? Or something like that. But this is just conjecture on my part. Do not plan for that. But yeah, so on like Tuesday, she gave me the homes to look at. On Thursday, I looked at them. I basically, out of the 7, 1 dropped off. Out of the 6, I picked 4 to look at, and I added 1 of my own in the panic, right? Because I was like, have I looked at all the houses? And I was like, well, this is the only one that she didn't pick that I was really interested in, so let's go see that too. And then I was like, all right, let's go see these. You available this weekend? And she was like, sure, do Sunday. Right, so 3 days away. I was like, all right, cool. So we went and we looked at like 5 houses, and of the 5, she was like, hey, tell me, rate them, go back into the system, add a comment, rate 1 through 5, 1 being the best, 5 being the worst, of which is your favorite. 1 is your most favorite, 5 is your least favorite. Guess which one I picked? Number 5. Number 5. Not only the oldest, not only the smallest, but it looked the worst in the pictures, right? I was considering just cutting it off the list. And then in doing the walkthrough, it was my favorite by far. It was the only one I actually felt anything about. So don't trust the pictures, I guess is what I would say, because they can make the house look like absolute garbage, which is what I thought, right? Assume the pictures are garbage. Assume that you can already tell they're not super, they always like distort how long the dimensions, right? They make them look shorter or skinnier or wider or whatever. They make them look weird. Don't trust the pictures. But yeah, so we did that, put in the offer, and then it was the whole process after that, the negotiation, all that stuff, and then inspections, got that all taken care of, and then closing eventually. Let me pause here for a second. It's been over an hour. I'm gonna pause. We're gonna continue. I'm not gonna break this up into parts, but I'm gonna go take a piss. And get some water. I'll be right back. 1 second. All right, we should be unpaused at this point. I just saw Jack run that way, so we'll see what happens. He's probably going to visit us here in a couple minutes. So, where was I? Made the offer, did the closing, basically all that stuff. It took about a week and a half, like I said, from meeting the realtor, not even meeting her, just talking to her on the phone, to, excuse me again, to making the offer on the house. And I will say, the whole process is stressful. Okay, from the beginning to the end, it's stressful. Different levels, right? Different levels of stress and anxiety. Those of you with bad credit, with bad finances, still try not to get super stressed out over the paperwork side, over the finance stuff, right? The pre-approval and the mortgage stuff, that stressed me out at first. Don't worry about that stuff. It's a piece of cake. It's a piece of cake. Anything paperwork involved, piece of cake. Like, now that I've been through the process, it's fine. I really respect it. I appreciate it because it lays everything out, and anyone involved in any sort of paperwork aspect wants you to succeed. Right, that's the big takeaway. They all want you to win. See, okay, maybe I was early. Jack's here. I said a couple minutes, but maybe I should have said 30 seconds or whatever. Yeah, anyone that is involved in any kind of paperwork wants you to succeed, and so don't stress about that, But yeah, so you get the pre-approval. At some point, you're going to want to go visit the houses. Make sure you do. Again, are you coming up here? You were so cute. Yeah, your realtor, at least mine, she was great. Yes, they make money off of the sales, right? And some people want to push you into the most expensive house that you can. Just understand that and don't get bothered by it. You know what I mean? If it's a house you don't want, just be like, yeah, we're not going to buy this one. I'm not super interested. But don't. This is a commitment that's several hundreds of thousands of dollars. Try and look at it as a business decision, not as an emotional one. Okay? That's why the needs are so important, because any sort of buyer's remorse or anything like that is going to come from uh and this is just my opinion, it's going to come from not having established needs. Like me personally, um I went to the house, I went to the inspection, and you could hear like children playing and stuff, and I was like, I hate kids, right? But it was nice. It was really nice. I don't like children, but I if they're happy, I'm happy. I mean, it sounds stupid, right? But children are kind of gross. They're sticky. They have fluids. Every orifice is fluids coming out of it at all times, just constantly. Everything they touch is sticky and gross. Um, but if they're happy, it's like it's a good thing. You know what I mean? So if the neighborhood I'm in has happy kids, I'm happy. You know, it's way better than packs of rabid dogs and freaking drive-bys and stuff. So um yeah, it's yeah, I sort of lost my train of thought right there, but yeah, your realtor will she or he is able to point out stuff, especially if they're experienced. Mine was like we would do a walkthrough. They'd point out, at least in the areas we're in, they'd point out cracks in the ceilings and the walls and the floor, like the seams. They'd be like, uh, there's a crack right there that indicates the foundation is shifting. Okay. Um, and she told me, she's like, cracks that do this mean the foundation's doing this. Cracks that are doing this or this means the foundation's doing this. One's, well, none of them are good, but one is acceptable and one is unacceptable to a high degree. So, um, you know, sort of you need to find an experienced one. Experience is better than not experienced. Um, but but that's kind of the thing. And something else I saw was your it's really hard because your realtor is basically doing a bunch of work for free because they make the money at the end. When the sale goes through is when they get their money. That's when they get paid. Up to that point, they're just doing a bunch of work for free. And if you're talking like, if they're helping you find a home for 6 months, 9 months, that's a long time to be working with the client without getting paid. So um just be advised, okay? Uh if they're trying to push you into some stuff, don't take it personally. They just want to get paid. Um, but if it, you know, another thing to remember is you're purchasing a house. You are what makes it a home, and that's cheesy as fuck, but I like it. It's true, you know. It's like you make it a home. It's just a house. You're what makes it a home. Okay. So just as long as it meets your needs, you can grow into it or it can grow on you or, maybe you just need to paint the walls lime green or something, One of the houses I looked at had lime green walls and I was like, I kind of like this. And I took my buddy, the one that referred me to the realtor, he was with me too because I asked him. I was like, come with me so you can look at these houses. And he was like, okay. And then the realtor, and both him and the realtor were like, you like this paint? And I was like, yeah, it's great. And they're like, so whatever. I'm a little bit weird. You want to come over here, Jack, or no? No. Okay. So yeah, once you visit the houses, once you find a house that you like, it's time to make the offer. Now, something to understand. Oh my gosh, excuse me. um if you watch houses, right? If you go on the listings and stuff, they'll say active option, contingency, pending, whatever, right? Once you put an offer in on a home and it's accepted, you, assuming there's no shenanigans, you're basically going to buy the home. Okay. But you have a option or contingency period, depending on the state, they call them different things. And that is your basic, usually it's a week, sometimes it's 10 days, 2 weeks, whatever. That is your time to back out of the deal. Okay. And that's your time where it's basically reserved, right? The seller should not be taking other offers if they've accepted yours. They should not be taking other offers, but it's sort of reserved, right? You are reserving it. That's why you pay a little bit extra. So you have the earnest money, you make an offer and they want earnest money and they want either the option or contingency fee, generally speaking. Both of those, they're two separate things, but both of those will basically go towards the purchase of the house if you buy. Okay, it's not a down payment. The down payment's like a third thing, right? But the contingency fee, if you walk away, like let's say you get the house inspected and you find out the foundation, there's no foundation. It's totally crap. It's built on dirt and the house is about to fall apart. You're like, yeah, I'm walking away because the house is going to collapse any day now. Okay. You get your earnest money back. Earnest money is like the money you're putting down, like collateral to prove that you're serious. Okay. But the contingency fee or option fee, you do not get back. That is what you're paying to ensure that the house is reserved and that you can do the inspections on it. Right? Presumably, if you waive inspection, which you should never do, then you don't have to put down the contingency fee. Then you just go into the pending phase. But why would you do that? Anyway, so for me, we made the offer, and this is where the games began, right? Because I made the offer, and the sellers came back and they're like, okay, well, look, we want your offer. And this is actually, so this is the interesting thing. The day I was going to visit, because you schedule ahead, at least my seller, my realtor, she scheduled the visits, the viewings ahead of time, right? So the day we were going to go see the house, they dropped the price by 10 grand. And I'm like, why would they do that? And my realtor is like, that's a sign. It's an incentive. They want you to buy the house. And I was like, cool. This is the one I bought, by the way. So I put the offer in and they're like, we like your offer, but we need to raise the contingency fee by $150. And I was like, are you fucking with me? Like, what are you doing? You have a signed offer in front of you. You lowered the price by 10 grand. And then you're coming back and you're like, we need you to pay an extra $150. What are you doing? What are you jerking me around for? Because I got heated. And that's, again, why a realtor is important. Because I'm like, what is this? What is this? And this is where, yeah, I potentially would have walked away. Oh, if they I'm like, you have a signed offer letter in front of you. What are you doing? All you have to do is accept it. Like, I'm serious about buying the home. That's why I'm putting the offer in. Before that, by the way, the realtor was like, we're considering another offer. We have another offer on the table. It's like, I don't buy that. That was true. You probably wouldn't have lowered the price on, the day I was scheduled to view it. Because you knew ahead of time that I was going to view it on that day, right? It was just a coincidence. the day that I was going to view it, you lower the price. Come on, right? So already they're playing games, but so I was like, okay, that's fine. We'll raise the fee, and all that. And then as far as that went, I was, there's a couple different interpretations. One is they're trying to get the maximum amount of cash out of me as that they can, which is the responsibility of the realtor, right? Not my realtor, but their realtor. Their realtor has a duty to get the maximum value of the home. I can't really fault him for that. It's a bullshit sales tactic, but I can't fault him, right? So I was like, you know what? And this is again where the realtor helped me, because she was basically like, how bummed would you be if we lost the house? And I was like, honestly, I'd be pretty bummed, because it's the only one I actually liked out of all the ones the 5 that we looked at. It was the only one I liked. So she was like, okay, well, we were going to ask for them to pay the closing fees, closing costs, whatever. We could just give them their asking price and nothing else. And that way it'll be totally clean. No games or whatever. And I was like, you know what? Let's do that. We've made the best offer we can, if that's the case. And because I'm not one of these. Thankfully, I'm not in a really high cost of living area with lots of like bidding wars and stuff. I don't know if I could take that. I don't like games. Not those type of games anyway, but so I was like, let's do that. We made the best offer. If there is another offer and we lose it, we lose it. We made a fair offer. We made a good offer. I have no regrets if we lose it after this point. I will feel okay. I'll be bummed, but I'll feel like we made a decent offer. You know what I mean? So put it in. The offer was accepted, and moves to the contingency phase or option phase or whatever. Now, at least for me, I had 7 days to get all the inspections done, because if it passes the option period, generally speaking, at least my realtor was basically like, if we get to that point, if we get to the end of the option phase, it ends at 5 p.m. that day. If we do not reach an agreement, we break the deal and we walk. And I didn't realize that at first. I was like, oh, it's just another thing. It's another thing. And that's why I'm making these videos, because it's like no one really talks about the nitty gritty details of all this stuff. So I didn't expect this video to be this long, but whatever. So anyway, because you don't want to be locked into a contract that may or may not be good, so we got the inspection. And by the way, you have to pay for all this stuff. You, as the buyer, pays for all the inspections. You pay for all the fees. You pay for whatever, right? You pay for the appraisal. You shouldn't be doing that yet, because you're still in the point of, do I even want, like, I'm interested in the home. I've made an offer. I'm willing to buy it, but what horrible stuff is there inside of it? You know what I mean? We need to look. Is it gonna explode? Is it gonna burn down? Right? Is there a bad foundation? Stuff like that. So inspector goes out, inspects, and he's like, the floor is uneven in areas where there's water. In areas where there's water pipes, the floor is not even. And I'm like, what the hell does that mean? Right? So, and he basically says there's water pipes that go in and sewer pipes that go out, which makes sense, right? Water comes in, poo goes out. If there was a leak, which he's potentially expecting, right, then the meter would be running, because the leak from the inside, the inflow would be going. If there was a leak in the inflow, the meter would go. But the meter's not going. So he's expecting that there's potentially a leak in the outflow. So like when you flush the toilet, there's a break in the pipe and the shit goes into the foundation. Great, right? So I'm like, we need to get a master plumber out there to evaluate the plumbing system and check all this stuff. You know, check the sellers, see if they want to pay for this, right? Because if there's a problem, they're going to have to pay for it anyway, right? They don't want to pay. So I'm like, well, I'll pay then because I need to know. I'm not just going to walk away from the house. I like it. If it's cool, if everything's fine, I want to buy the house. If it's not fine, I walk away. So I spend, I've spent like $1,000 at this point, by the way, just getting inspections. And so they go out, they do the thing, and then it's the last day of my freaking contingency period. The seller's realtor is like, I'm unavailable. Yeah, I got other things to do. Sorry, you're just gonna have to decide if you want to buy the house or not. I'm like, you fucking serious? I'm like, okay, then we walk. He's like, whoa, wait. We'll extend the period. We'll extend the option contingency period. We'll extend that for a day. We'll deal with this stuff tomorrow. I'm like, okay, cool. Fine, thank you, Your Grace. Right? We send that off. And then he sends it back. He's like, no, I need an extra $25. I need you to give me $25 to extend this. I'm like, you motherfucker. Right? This is why I'm like super irritated just with this whole process in general. It's like, what are you doing? You're standing in the way of me buying the house. You're going to make a commission. You're not making money right now. You don't make money until I buy this freaking house from you. And you're dicking around. Just let me buy the house. That's all you have to do, and you will make money. But no, you need an extra $25. You're going to make thousands of dollars off this house, and you're dicking around for an extra 25. And I argued with my realtor. Like, no shit. She was basically like, we went back and forth for like I almost walked over this thing. And she basically was like, he's technically right. It's the law. If we don't do this, even when he asks, I could lose my realtor's license. I was heated. Heated. I didn't respond to the text for a long time. And I guarantee she was feeling it. Right? Because she was probably like, he's gonna walk away. He's gonna walk away from this. And I almost did. I seriously almost did. I was like pacing around my apartment. I almost was like, I'm gonna go for a walk. But I didn't. I'm like, I need to figure this out. And then I was like, fine. I signed it. Here's the thing, because you have to sign all this crap, right? Every new offer letter, right? And by the way, something to consider, these offer letters, they are the core of your purchase agreement, okay? What I mean is, they tell you, I didn't understand this when I was reading it and when I was signing it, they tell you the conditions for you taking possession of the home. As in, what I mean by that is, what do you have to do in order to actually be able to own the home? If something happens, if some bullshit happens, if you've fulfilled your obligations and whoever is like, well, no, you haven't, well, I have a problem with this. And you're like, I don't care. I own the home now. Right? Which kind of happened to me. We'll get there. Okay. So sent off the revised offer letter. Okay. And this was like, the revised offer letter was just to extend the option period or contingency, whatever you want to call it. So we, Jesus Christ, I can't believe it's almost been an hour and a half, but whatever. Fuck it, we're gonna keep going. Um, Next day we get into it. They send. He's like, yeah, I'll bring it to the sellers. I'll get it to them. 8 a.m. I'm like, hey, have they seen it yet? What's going on? She's like, my realtor's like, no, I haven't heard anything. He says he's gonna bring it to them. All we can do is wait. I was like, okay. They waited till like 2 p.m. 2 p.m. they waited. Right? Okay, well, hey, are you still interested? I'm like, yeah, but I we so we sent the option and oh sorry, I forgot something. We asked them to repair stuff, right? Because and this is the thing, the seller's agent should have expected this because you get the inspection and it lists mine was a good one, right? And it was 26 pages. Right, because the inspector goes through and finds every single thing wrong with the home. Cracked whatever, door frame is this, whatever. Most of it's bullshit. Like I said, you want to focus on the big things. Is the foundation bad? Is the plumbing bad? Is the electrical bad? How's the AC? How's the roof? All the big money items. If there's something like the outlet is slightly misaligned, it's like, well, okay, I could just turn it. Maybe I just need a new one. You know what I mean? Maybe I'll just go down to the hardware store and $10 will get me a new outlet cover or something. He or she will put everything important on there. It's up to you to sort it all out. But we asked for about $1,500. Oh, hello, Manny. You coming over? We asked for about $1,500 worth of repairs. And you're so good. And they basically didn't want to, right? So first they offered me the fridge because I didn't know this. When you buy a house, typically the stove stays, the microwave and the dishwasher stay, but the fridge, washer, and dryer do not. I don't know why. I don't know why that is. But yeah. So they offered me the fridge, and I was like, well, I do need a fridge. How old is it? It's like 6 years old. I'm like, well, I mean, okay. It's not, I could get a new one though. Because how long do they typically last? 8 years? So I'm going to have to get a new one in a couple of years anyway. Well, hello, mister. We're cuddling now? Okay, that's fine. So I'm like, a new one is $1,500, right? You're offering me a used one that I'm going to have to replace here in a couple of years in exchange for basically $1,500. I'm like, and this is where my realtor, she was great. She was like, okay, well, let's ask for this. We'll just ask for the AC to be serviced because that's like $200. I was like, okay. Excuse me, mister. We ask for that, and they turn around and they're like, okay, well, and by the way, it's getting down to the wire. It's like almost 4 o'clock at this point, and if it hits 5 or 4:45 or something, we walk. Because I'm like, if we can't reach an agreement by the end of the option period, we walk away. Their realtor is starting to panic at this point because he's responding. Apparently, according to my realtor, he's actually responding really fast, not dicking around anymore. Because, his commission relies on making the sale, and he's been screwing around, and he hasn't made the sale yet. Like, I'm still not committed. Right? And I'm like, well, how old is the fridge? Like, they're offering me an old fridge, So they offer me the washer and dryer as well. And I'm like, well, I already have a washer and dryer. I don't need their old washer and dryer. How old is it? So he starts sending the, the photo of the serial number and the model number and all that stuff. And I'm like, now I kind of feel bad because like they're like, well, we can't afford these. This is how I'm interpreting it. The seller can't afford the repairs. Maybe they don't have an extra $200. They're willing to give me their washer and dryer, which are who knows how much, for in exchange for $200. Like, that doesn't seem like a fair deal. You were so cute. Your hands are really strong, though. So I basically feel bad, and I'm like, yeah, okay. This is like 4 p.m. And of course I'm at work. She sends me the thing to sign. I can't sign it because I'm at work, and the security system on the computer, on the work computers, doesn't allow it. So I'm like, let me get it on my phone, and I can't because the signal is bad. I'm like, oh, great. Now the deal's gonna fall through because frickin' technology, because the dickhead realtor waited, not mine, but their dickhead realtor waited till the last minute. We should have had this deal ironed out yesterday, or at least this morning or something, There should have been no need to wait till the last minute for everybody to freaking shit their pants. So, get it on my phone, I sign the whatever, we send it off. We're good. Option period passes. I'm like, all right, so we should be locked into the deal now at this point. Okay? You were so cute and you were purring like a crazy mother. You're crazy, Biscuit. Your paws are really strong, though, also. Yep. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Can we go this way? Can we go this way, Mr. Cat? Thank you. Oh my gosh, you're so good. Okay, just lay down maybe or something. All right, so I guess I don't entirely know why I have this note of like mortgage. Jesus Christ, can you see all this cat hair? I don't know if you can, but it's everywhere. I have mortgage paperwork and homeowners insurance, which I guess that's key. Once you've passed the option contingency period, you need to apply for homeowners insurance, because that, if you have a lender. If you don't have a lender, it's on you. If your house burns down, then you foot the bill. But I recommend homeowners insurance regardless, because you want to make sure the building's insured in case something happens. But if you have a lender like I do, then it's required, right? So I defined homeowners insurance now, and then you got to deal with all that stuff. You guys submit whatever other paperwork they have to go through the final approval for your mortgage. There's different steps to that. There's your I don't remember all of them. It's like quote, pre-approval, underwriting, final approval, and then good to close, basically something like that. And the benefit of having a mortgage broker is you hand him all the stuff that he needs, and he deals with the lenders, right? My understanding is, at least all the people that I've talked to, my coworkers and stuff, they all went with lenders, like bigger lenders, and their lenders are basically freaking incompetent, and they're like, we need your W-2s for the last 2 years, and you're like, I've already sent you that 3 times, right? Mortgage broker, they have that stuff because you sent it to them, and if the bank asks them for that, they're like, yeah, here you go. They don't turn around and ask me for it, because I'm like, I sent that to you. Why do you not have it anymore? Are you incompetent? Because I would say that shit. I try not to, but when I get irritated, I say that shit. So anyway, yeah, once you've passed that period and you want, you're still locked, you're basically locked into buying the home, mortgage paperwork and homeowners insurance. Okay. And then after that, somewhere at the point, that's where you get the termite inspection if it's required. You get your appraisal if it's required. They're going to do that for you. They're just going to bill you for it, by the way. And we will definitely go through the appraisal paperwork because I did a VA loan, and that is fucking amazing, I will say. Normally, your appraisal paperwork is something like 6 pages. Mine was 38 or something like that. It was amazeballs. It was fantastic to read, and I'm not even joking. They did all this stuff. They explained all the definitions. They explained all the different, evaluation protocols and how they evaluate things, because there's like 3 different ways. They showed all the different comparisons because they have to compare it to like 5 other properties, and they go through all those. And then at least there's the VA. I don't think they do that. Are you coming back up here, mister? They don't do that on the regular. And what was really interesting as far as the VA appraisal was they also do market conditions and which aspects of a house increase the value in the view of the buyer, which is amazing. Like they talked about, like, oh, if you're a seller, you want to upgrade the kitchen because that's what the buyers look at. That's the number one factor that determines buyer whatever in similar houses. I knew you're coming up here. Well, hang on. It was amazing, and seriously, we're gonna go through that. At least if I remember. Come on. And always more paperwork. Always more paperwork. Your mortgage person's gonna want stuff that they didn't ask for before, which is fine. Don't go that way. I will hug you, mister. Okay. You want to be held like this? Okay, that's fine. Yes. And then once all that happens, and the speed of which this stuff happens is dependent on your closing date, because if your closing date is farther off, you're not necessarily a priority, if that makes sense. If your closing date is next week, they're going to get on your stuff right away. But if your closing date is not for another month, they won't ask you right now for that stuff, basically. So, oh, you want to get down? Okay. Okay, hang on. All right, mister. Closing. So once you've done all that stuff, for me, I had a few days of just kind of relaxing where I didn't have to do anything. And I didn't really get nervous, but every day or two, I would text my realtor and be like, hey, have you heard anything? Is there any news? Is anything going to explode? Do you need any paperwork? And I would text my mortgage broker too, be like, what's up, man? Do you need anything from me? What is this? What is that? And he was like, no, we're good. It's a lot of waiting, which can be fine, but can also, for me, it was fine, right? Because after the stress of the negotiation period, waiting is okay because they're doing their crap and they're not bothering me for anything. I'm cool, And then I text them in the morning. I'm like, morning, any news? Do you need anything from me? And they're like, no, we're good. And I'm like, all right, cool. Let me know if you need anything, right? Then you go to closing, and this is something I would recommend is there should be no surprises at closing. Okay? Closing, I can't speak for everybody, but for me there was sort of multiple closings. There was the closing, I had to go online and do some digital signatures for my lender's closing, and that had to happen before the funding would be released. So I could still go. Closing is where you sign all the actual paperwork at the title company, right? It should be the last thing that you do, but but you are not required to sign the lender's documents first, right? So conceivably, it might not be the last thing you do, but you want it to be the last thing that you do, because at least for me, my lender required, signatures, and then they had to send those to the title company. And then the title company is kind of the intermediary between the seller and the buyer, right? So You are so cute, and I am warm, Mr. Manny. Um, so they had to send some documents, whatever I had signed, off to them to ensure that the funds got released to them, because they don't just pay the seller, they pay the middle person, and the middle person pays the seller, right? It's like a neutral party. You are so good. You know, that deals with all the money and stuff. You know, so my closing was great. I was super freaking nervous. I would recommend, because like I mentioned, you don't want there to be any surprises. Would you mind not doing that right now? Okay, can we do this? Okay, thank you. You were so good. One of the big things, especially if you're like me and you like to read all this stuff ahead of time, ask your closing company, the title company. They contacted me a few days ahead of time to set up the appointment to go sign the closing documents. I didn't even realize you could ask them for the documents ahead of time. Because if you want to read them, they don't want to sit there and watch you read them. There's some incredible bullshit, right? The closing documents that the lender, because like I said, I had multiple sets. I had like 2 sets. Excuse me, mister. You are not authorized to play with that. But oh my gosh, you can't see Manny, but he's right here. So the closing documents from the lender were basically about 30 pages for me of pure, I can't even see what I'm doing because Manny's like right in the middle of the screen. About 30 pages of, excuse me, mister, do not do that. Okay, you are gonna get down now. Go this way. Go this way. Go. Thank you. They were about 30 pages of pure finance stuff. Okay. Sounds crazy, but I really enjoyed reading it. It was great. Really hard to read, yes, but really educational. Okay. So I had to sign that, and then once that got signed, they sent them to the title company. The next day, I went to the title company, I signed all that stuff, and like I said, I had read it the night before, but try and get it a couple days ahead of time if you can, because after reading 30 pages of finance documents, then reading 80 pages of straight law related stuff, like I'm not even joking, it's pure. If you've ever tried to read any sort of legal thing, that's basically what the closing documents are. They are pure legal, like seller will do this and blah blah blah, and these are all the definitions and da 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 da. And most of it's fine. There is some fluff in there, you know, like, oh, sign 3 pages of the survey, which is the diagram of the house or the lot that the house is on that you're buying, right? But there was about 30 pages of straight up law related to the purchase of a house and all that stuff. And you know, if you default, then this is how we fuck you in your ass, you know, and all that stuff. And that, it's really hard, and it is a real good idea just to ask them, because I'm pretty sure they'll send it to you. Because in my case, I was like, hey, I'm gonna read it there, is that a problem? And they're like, it is a problem, can we send it to you ahead of time? And I was like, yeah, I didn't know that was an option. So but yeah, my closing was great. I was super nervous. You know, as much as I say, like, don't be nervous, you're probably going to be. It's a big decision. It's the final step in the, you know, I'm committing 30 years of my life to paying off this loan, basically, right? But the people at the closing were fantastic. They, no shit, they literally baked cookies for me. You know, I scheduled the closing, and I got there. They're like, "Oh, can we offer you water, coffee, all this stuff?" I was like, "Yeah, yeah, that sounds good." And they got me settled. They put me in the little, document, the conference room or whatever. Hey, we're so and so, blah blah blah. We're gonna go through all these papers, all this stuff, and then they're like, about after the first couple, they're like, our cookies should be done by now. We're baking cookies right here, and I'm like, are you really? Oh yeah, yeah. Let me go get them. And they no shit. They brought out like a cookie tray with fresh baked cookies on it. I was like, this is amazing. And then I realized my hands were shaking like super crazy, and I was like, okay, super. I didn't realize that because I thought I was fine. Um, but really great, really nice, really really awesome. I didn't realize I was that nervous, but I was. So, but whoa, kind of teared up there. It was very strange. So the paperwork stuff, try not to be super nervous about it. Everyone wants you to succeed, you know? Um it's hard. It's a hard process. There's a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety. But if you're watching this video, I really do wish you guys the best of luck. Like I said, I made this video because so many people, it astonishes me. Even the people that I work with, like most of them, almost, I think all of them own homes. Almost, except maybe for one. And it astonishes me how little they know. Like, I read the documents, and I mentioned something to at least one or two of them, and they're like, "I would never sign that." And I'm like, "You have to. It's in the document you signed." And they're like, "Well, I didn't know that. I didn't read the documents." And I'm like, "Yeah, I could tell." But it's really good to know. So, by the way, if you guys, this is probably going to be the end of the video, but if you do have any suggestions, anything going forward, I really do want you guys to leave a comment. Like, tell me, because this video especially, there's not too many notes. There's, I don't know, little bullet points. I don't know, freaking 15. I didn't think it was going to be this long, but I think about this stuff all the time, especially lately. Um, and it's a lot of sleepless nights because it's been a process. And oh, the clothing. So yes, let's finish this. So for me, um, there's a bunch of lawyers online that are arguing about not my not specifically my case, but my case in general, right? So on the offer letter, okay, that's why I mentioned it's the core of your purchase agreement. Manny's like right there licking himself. Um, it tells you what are the conditions that you as the buyer have to fulfill before you can own the home. Okay. And what happens typically is you go in to sign the closing documents and then you're done. And you generally don't get the keys right there because they don't have the money, right? So the title company, the intermediary, they have the keys, right? They're not going to give them to you. The seller gave them the keys, right? They're going to hold them until they get the money. So your company gives them the money, and that's why I say you don't. Okay. Uh, at least my lender's closing documents, not the title company's closing documents. I didn't have to sign those the day before, but it helps because I sign those. They send them to the closing, to the title company's closing, and then that's all verified. And once I sign, then they're like, okay, the payment is authorized from the lender. They take the money. they get the money. They're like, okay, we have received the money. Here are the keys. And that's usually end of the day or the next day or whatever. So for me, it was basically Friday, end of business was when I was sort of, me personally, I was kind of in limbo because I was like, am I allowed to go in the home? They gave them to the realtor, and I was given the keys, and I was like, so am I allowed to go into the home? And she was like, yes. And I was like, okay, what does it say though? Because, and like, we didn't get into it, but she sort of had to explain it to me. It was like, your obligation is that on the thing, it says you are, what is it? Closed and funded, right? So I signed all of my documents and the funding was released from my lender to the title company. Therefore, I get the keys. I now have possession of the home. Depends on the state. North Carolina, because I looked into this, right? North Carolina, I think specifically requires that the deed be registered at the Hall of Records or City Council or whatever, right? So I signed the closing documents. I signed the lender's closing documents. Lender releases the money to the title company. Title company turns around, pays the seller. Okay. Seller receives it. I don't know what happens on that side, to be fair, but you know, at some point, the title company concludes that the transaction has been completed. Both parties are satisfied. At that point, they're like, the deed is now belongs to the buyer. We are going to now take this new deed and register it with the appropriate government agencies in the name of the new owner. Okay. At least in North Carolina, at that point, that's when they release the keys to the buyer. Okay. In my state, it's not that way, right? And that's why it's kind of this weird limbo thing. Yeah, so like I got it on Friday. I was like sort of agonizing over it. I didn't sleep too well for the next couple days, and then today, I guess I still technically don't know. I actually, to be fair, today I saw that I had an email from the title company that evening, like close of business, and they were like, "Congrats on the purchase of your new home." And I'm like, "Okay, I feel good now. Now I feel good." Because the title company is like, "Hey, you're good," right? Even though maybe the seller hasn't been paid, even though the title or the deed is not registered. And apparently that takes a freaking week. So if you're in North Carolina, there you go. Maybe the closing date is not going to be the same thing as the date you release or receive the keys. That's got to be a real kick in the balls. But yeah, so that's closing. That's buying a freaking home. I mean, it's a huge deal, right? It's a huge deal. It's, like I said, hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of debt, years and years and years, decades even of your life that you're going to owe. And if you watched, I don't know, I might do this video first. I might publish this video first. I don't know, but if you watch the rent versus buy video, I mentioned that renting a home is way cheap. Renting a thing is way cheaper, generally speaking, than buying. But I guess it depends. Everything depends on your situation. Every situation is different. It's kind of crazy, but whatever. But if you watch this video, if you have questions, let me know. I will try and answer them. I might make a video based on it. I have videos in mind, but I don't know everything. I will try and do what I can. I do a fair amount of research. Okay, like I said, I read everything. Okay, so it's astonishing to me how little the average person, even the people that have already bought a home, even them, it's astonishing to me how little they actually know. So if you have a question or a suggestion, let me hear it. Seriously. Thank you guys so much for your time and attention. I really do appreciate it. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video, found it educational, informative, whatever. I'm going to ask for a like. I normally don't, but give me a like, give me a comment, please, if you found the video. Or if you didn't like the video, give me a dislike. Some sort of engagement would be nice. It's been about 2 hours. My throat's a little bit raw. I didn't think the video would be, I figured it'd be an hour, but I didn't think it would be 2 hours. So that's a little bit shocking. But I can talk. I can talk. So thank you guys seriously so much. Any questions, comments, concerns, good, bad, or indifferent, let me hear them. I do try and read all of them. I do try and respond to all of them. About 40% of the YouTube comments are memory hold. Just bear that in mind. That's YouTube. That's not me. I approve all of them, even the ones that are, you know, held for inappropriate language or whatever. I approve everything. I mean, that's saying don't abuse it, but you know what I mean? If you leave a comment, I do try and read it. I do try and respond to it. And yeah, let me know what you guys think. Any questions, any comments, any video suggestions, any questions about this especially? It's a process. It's a process. There's tons of information. No one knows everything. Don't assume I'm telling the truth. Do your own research. Assume all this is lies. I've done the best that I could, but don't assume I'm correct. Just make sure you do your own research, because you are the one that knows your situation, not me. Not anyone else, especially not the people on Reddit, where 90, I would say probably, it really depends on the topic. Some of them are, I look and I'm like, wow, that's an amazing answer. And some of them are just like, this is terrible, right? It's probably 50-50. Anyway. Anyway, guys, that's it. Hope to see you guys next time. Till then, guys, take care.